make a civil war. All right, so as you can see, the pancakes we have right here are our starter to our civil war. It's our breakfast. The South is in fact smaller than the North, believe it or not, and the North is bigger than the South. The North is known for its cities and high population, factories. And the South is known for its agriculture. As you can see here, this whipped cream represents one of the South's most important things, or at least for Georgia, cotton. All right. States' rights are very important to the South, since slavery was one of their main things keeping them afloat. Without slavery, their economy wouldn't be that good. So Southern states felt that the concept of states' rights allowed them to decide if slavery was illegal in their state, not federal nation government, the big guys. All right. Now, since the nation was always growing, they needed a compromise. So they made the Missouri Compromise. This was technically a line made straight in the middle of the United States. This happened in 1820, I believe. And this was the way so we can add states more peacefully. Missouri would be added as a slave state. Maine will be added as a free state, and new territories in the line will be, in fact, divided into either slave or free. This was keeping the country together. Even though the Missouri Compromise did keep the nation together for a while, there was the nullification crisis of 1832. Some states felt that they had the power to cancel or nullify a federal law. Since there was a tax placed on the southern states that would help the North but hurt the South, South Carolina wanted to nullify these tariffs. So they threatened to secede from the nation. Of course, for the North, this would be very bad, because if South Carolina were to secede from the nation, the other states would go along with it. So this is where problems started occurring. But that's up for lunch to, explain. Now we're on to lunch. Now South Carolina and Andrew Jackson were gonna get into a fight. But of course that wasn't gonna happen. Like, you've seen South Carolina? It can't go against United States of America. So Andrew Jackson agreed to lower the tariffs on South Carolina, and the crisis ended. So now Eliana will get on to lunch.
The 1850s led to the Civil War. First, gold was discovered in California. So lots of people started moving to California so that they could get their share of gold. Demonstration now. This plate is California. This is gold, the cheese.
All right.
These are people. This is a sandwich. This is a grilled cheese. Basically, once people started moving to California in order to get gold, the population started to grow. More bread, more cheese, more bread. Okay, this is California. I'm about to cut it open. Cheese. This is gold, okay? Since California's population started to grow, there was more and more people. Now, since California doesn't have any need for slaves, it wants to join the Union as a free state with no slavery. But California was over the Missouri Compromise line of the 3630 line. So we need to create a new compromise. This leads us to the Compromise of 1850. Okay, so since the Compromise of 1850 was needed, there were 4 components that needed to be added. 1, California would be added as a free state. 2 was the Fugitive Slave Law. It made sure that runaway slaves had to be caught and returned to the South. 3 is that no slave trade would occur in Washington, D.C. 4 is that new states with slavery would be decided by popular sovereignty. That means voting, if you didn't know. The next thing on this list is the Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854. Places like these will use popular sovereignty, voting, to determine the slavery issue. This brings us to How to Rig an Election 101. We do not encourage election fraud.
What she said.
That's what she said.
So what happened in the election is people from both the North and the South started moving here in order to rig the election. So people started moving there, they would vote, and hopefully they would overturn the vote. But this led to fighting. So each people from both sides would come together and they would fight to the death. So this brings us to the next thing, which is the Georgia Platform. The Georgia Platform said that the Compromise of 1850 was acceptable, but that slavery must be protected in the future. This is what Georgians believed. Bleeding Kansas, 1854. An abolitionist is someone who wants to end slavery, mostly northern states. And supporters of slavery and abolitionists fought each other in Kansas. A preview of the Civil War. 200 people were killed.
Dred Scott was a slave who lived in a free territory in Illinois, Wisconsin with his master. After his master died, he tried to sue for his freedom, saying that he lived in a free state and should be free. What did the Supreme Court say? They ruled against it, since the property was and he was not a citizen, so properties could not sue for their own freedom. How will this impact slavery? Slavery is not restricted. It can exist anywhere in the state. Slavery is like pineapple on pizza. It's a crime in some places and not in others. The election of 1860. Abraham Lincoln will run for president with the new Republican Party. He says slavery should be restricted. What will the South say? Well, the South will threaten the Union to secede if Lincoln gets elected. Secede means to leave or quit a group. Well, Lincoln gets elected. Now, the South Carolina will secede. Then, rest of the South will join him too and secede. Now, this is the Confederate States of America. Andrew Stevens from Georgia will become the vice president. Jefferson Davidson from Mississippi is chosen as the president. But not every slave state wants to secede. States like Missouri, Kentucky, West Virginia, Maryland, and Delaware stays with the Union. Now, tension is breaking. First, South Carolina secedes from the Union. Then, the rest will join them after, leading into two different nations. The North, which is the Union, and then the South, which is the Confederate States of America. Now, Civil War strikes. He was a slave that lived in a free state. What? Go. Dred Scott was a slave who lived in a free territory in
Are you gonna say Wisconsin?